Hello, folks. You're here with Brad Walsh, host of Empowerography, and I have a very special guest today, Jen Rozenbaum. Not only is Jen an incredible boudoir photographer based out of New York, but she's also a mother, an educator, a speaker, and a Nikon ambassador. So, Jen, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you for having me. And my apologies. I just shut off my notifications as my phone is going crazy. Sorry about that. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Well, thank you very much. So, Jen, I'm just going to jump into a few questions here. I'm curious, what got you excited about starting your business? Let's go back to the beginning. What got you excited about it?
Sure. Well, so there's something that you need to know about me, Brad. I have a little problem. It's called I can't have a hobby. Everybody in my family knows this. It's impossible. Every time I find something that I love to do, I figure out a way to make money doing it.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a good thing, but it's a thing. But with photography, there's a twofold question here. One would be what got me into photography, and the second would be what made me decide to turn it into a business. So I'll try to answer both of those if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
And I'll give you sort of a brief summary, and anybody that's interested in the longer version will have to wait for my book to come out because I'm writing a book about it.
Excellent.
But the version is out there though. So what really got me into photography was I was going through a really hard time in my life, and I needed a distraction. I'm not the kind of person to kind of sit and feel bad for myself and wallow in it. And I thought to myself, okay, what am I going to do? I have, time on my hands, and I don't want to just sit here and feel bad for myself. And I come from a fine art drawing background, so I've always been into the arts. I've always been creative, and I've always used it as a way to heal. And so I thought to myself, well, why should this be any different? So my husband had bought me a Nikon D80 about a year before that, which I didn't have any clue how to use.
Wow.
And in fact, I tried to use it and didn't know what the knobs did, and just sort of got distracted and put it down and just said, you know what, this is too much for me. I don't know. I'm not really a manual reader, I need to learn hands-on. So yeah, I really didn't have time. So one day I decided, you know what, I'm going to dust off the camera and I'm going to teach myself photography. And I sat down in my living room and I put down a glass on the table, the coffee table, and I took a picture of it. And then I turned a knob, which I didn't know what it did, but I took another picture, and so on and so forth. And just by taking the pictures and looking at the pictures and learning what the different knobs did to the different photos, how it affected the photos, I taught myself photography. And then very, very briefly after that, in a time where I really had no business doing so, a friend of mine asked me to assist her on a boudoir shoot that she had booked with two sisters. And I did, and I loved it. And I came home and said, I want to be a boudoir photographer. And, I don't know how to explain it, except it was love at first sight. It was this is what I'm meant to do in the world, and I want to do it. And because I don't know how to do anything as a hobby, I turned my bedroom into a studio. I put up a website within 48 hours. Wow. And I turned my basement into an office, and I was a boudoir photographer from that point forward.
Holy, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So no formal training at all. You just
Nope.
played around and went with it, and look at where you are now. It's amazing.
Yeah. And here's the thing, even with formal training, and there's nothing against formal training. I think it's wonderful. It's not my style. You put me in a classroom or behind a desk and I lose my mind, but we're all learning all the time, even in doing. So there's moments when I think back to the women that I photographed the first year, and I think, oh man, I feel so bad for them that I did that, because I really wasn't as, anywhere near as good as I am now. But I know that in 5 years, I'm going to look back to my clients today and say, man, I feel bad for them. I'm nowhere as near as good as I am now, so that's the thing about art, is that we're always changing, moving, and growing. And the best way to do that, I think, is just doing it.
I agree. I would have to agree with that. So you said that you assisted a friend on a shoot. So, and from then you knew, was there a pivotal moment or a particular moment during that shoot where it just jumped out at you, and that's the moment that you decided, that you said, Jen, boudoir photography is where I'm going?
I don't know what it was. I often look back at that day and think, what happened that day that made me love it so much? I don't know exactly in the moment what it was, but what I can tell you was it was the feeling that I was left with when I walked out. It was the fact that I knew that those women felt gorgeous, and felt empowered. It wasn't a moment. It wasn't something somebody said. It wasn't like that. It wasn't that romantic. It was more of just like a calling that in the moment I felt, and I just had to explore.
Interesting. It's just something in your gut said, this is it. And that's it. And it went from there and it just grew, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
What would you say is the best advice you've ever received? Or one piece of advice, whether it be business or in life?
Yeah. So, I'm going to tell you, I talk about this in my book as well. I was brought up in a family of entrepreneurs. My parents are both entrepreneurs, and they started their business, which they're still currently working in, when I was 7 years old in my basement.
Wow.
So, to have a business they're in a tough industry as well. It's not photography, but they're in a tough industry as well. And to have a business that has longevity like that and has been able to sustain itself for so many years, you really learn that nothing is consistent and that you'll never have it figured out. You always have to make changes and you always have to take risks. And I think that I see with the people I mentor and the people I teach are so worried about having it all figured out. And I'm like, you're never going to have it figured out. I mean, as I'm sitting here with you today, I just left a meeting with a friend of mine who I was like going over business stuff because I was like, I need to make changes and I'm not happy with certain things that I'm doing the way I'm doing it anymore. And how do I make adjustments? And, just taking those risks and realizing that your business is constantly moving, changing, growing, and you're never going to have it all figured out is really important, because then you stop beating yourself up about the fact that you never have it figured out.
Right.
And you just say to yourself, okay, good. What's the next challenge? What's the next risk? What's the next step?
So with that, keeping with that theme, what are some of the challenges that you faced early on in your business when you first started out?
I think early on, I don't know. Sometimes I think back to early on and I think there's less challenges then than there are now, if I'm really being honest, because, and this is, I talk a lot about like the 4 stages of learning and what you don't know, you don't know what you don't know,
right.
And in the beginning, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know how hard it was going to be to sustain a business, how hard it was going to be to, time consuming and marketing. And back then, really, let's face it, 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago now, there was no Facebook or Instagram or social media. So if I had to say that there was a challenge then, it was really about getting the word out. But it was easier than it is now, even without social media, because there were less people doing it.
Right.
So I wouldn't say that things were easier or harder. I would just say things were very different. I think that the place that people struggle with in the beginning of their business, which I also struggled with a little and I'm much better about now, is putting up boundaries and understanding that what you're doing is you're running a business. You're not doing somebody a favor. And so, things like taking payment ahead of time, or I don't work weekends anymore. I put boundaries on that. Those things are really important to me now, where in the early days, I felt like I had to pay my dues and do whatever somebody wanted me to do in order to get business.
Right. So you were working 7 days a week if you needed to back then when you first started. You were just
and I mean, by the way, I always say, like, I love when I tell people I'm an entrepreneur and I own my own business, and they go, "Oh, that must be so great. You're so flexible." And I'm like, "Yeah, I traded in my 9-to-5 job for a 24/7 one."
Yeah, yes, that's very true.
Yeah, we're always working 24 hours, especially in the day of social media. But the difference is now is that I can put the phone down if I want to, or I can say I'm not going to take a shoot on a Saturday because I want to be with my kids or whatever it might be.
What do you wish you had known when you first started out? Is there anything in particular or a couple things that you wish you knew when you first started that you didn't know then?
No, I want to say no, because I really look back at my journey with great fondness, and all the times that I've screwed up or I made mistakes in the moment. Did I wish I knew that before? Yeah, of course. But I'm really grateful for the lessons that this business has taught me, about life, about business, about women, about myself. So I wouldn't really change anything if I'm being honest.
Okay. Okay. Do you feel that being a boudoir photographer has shaped who you have become as a woman?
Oh my God, there is no separation. It's like There's not like, oh, this is Jen Rozenbaum and this is Jen Rozenbaum, the photographer. This is just me. This is me, who I am all the time. If you sat here and you had coffee with me, we would probably talk about, in fact, the coffee meeting I just left, we were talking about body types, body images, and the fact that I recorded a podcast yesterday, because I have a podcast as well, on body trends. And when I was like, how is it even possible that a body could be a trend?
Yeah.
So this is who I am. It's what I live, breathe, think, do. And the photography is just an extension of who I am.
Interesting. Okay. Let's see here. What would you say? Sorry, hang on a second here.
No, you're fine.
Excuse me. What is a passion of yours other than outside of photography that someone who doesn't really know you wouldn't know about you? What would you what's that you rarely tell people about?
There's so little that I don't put out there. I sort of have this rule. I'm really open about anything in my life. So I talk obviously about breast cancer. I talk a lot about photography and women's empowerment. I show videos of me doing Muay Thai is one of the things that I love to do outside photography. I love Muay Thai and kickboxing and working out. And I share a lot of that stuff. So I think that when people look at my social media presence or my outward presence, they're getting a really good feel for who I am and what I do. What I don't share and I don't talk about is things that don't involve me, like my children, or my personal life, because I feel that that's not my story to tell. That's not, my place to put that stuff out in the universe. But, if anybody watches my Instagram stories, you pretty much know what I'm doing all day, every day. Right. I really don't hide much.
So speaking of breast cancer, you mentioned breast cancer. How would you say going through breast cancer yourself, how has that helped you to empower other women?
Wow. Yeah, that's a good one. It's funny because my clients over the years have changed. Like when I first started, I was a mom trying to get her mom bod, back in order. And like my clients were the same. And then I was turning 40 and my clients were all turning 40. And then, just as I was going through life and life changes, my clients were changing along with me. And now that I went through breast cancer and I did it in a very public fashion, my clients are mostly survivors at this point. Not all of them. And I shouldn't even say mostly. I should say maybe about 50% of my clients at this point are breast cancer survivors. Or people just diagnosed with breast cancer or some sort of trauma, ovarian cancer or, women that go through trauma similar to cancer, but maybe different in their lives. And so how has it affected me? I would say this. It's very difficult for me at this point to work with women that haven't been through some sort of difficulties in life, whatever that may be, whether it's a divorce or it's weight gain or it's childbirth or it's cancer, something as severe as cancer. For me, my goal and my job is to work with women that have experienced a level of trauma in their life. When a woman comes in and is like, okay, I just want to have some pictures taken for my husband for our wedding, I'm not against doing that. I think that has its place also, but it's not as fulfilling for me.
Right.
And so I think if I'm really honest, the fulfillment and the energy and the healing that is a transfer between me and the client is really important for me to have.
Okay. So you going through breast cancer publicly, you're a public figure. Would you say that it was therapeutic for you to go through that and deal with that in a public manner the way you did?
It was both therapeutic and extremely difficult. It depended on the day.
Right. Oh, I'm sure.
And it still does, to be honest with you, because there's days still where I'm still in the journey. I'm still being treated and I still need another 2 surgeries and so I'm still in it, and there's days where I just don't want to think about it and I don't want to talk about it and I just want to ignore it for the day. And I'll get 5 emails from people asking me about my YouTube videos or whatever it might be. Or, I have a friend who's just diagnosed. Can you reach out to them? Or I have my ultrasound today. Can you hold my hand virtually? And, so there are moments where when I need that and I need that support and somebody else needs that support, it's so great to be connected to other people that are going through the same thing. And on certain days where it's overwhelming for me, it's a little difficult. I'm not going to lie, but I know that in my heart of hearts, the whole point of me getting breast cancer is to provide service to other women that are going through that, because otherwise it's just pointless.
Right. Well, I mean, after all, you're a human, you're a regular person. So I'm sure at times the email, because I'm sure you get a lot of emails because you went through it so publicly. You get a lot of emails asking you advice and for help and this and that and the other. And it must just get, like you said, incredibly overwhelming at times where you just want to shut it all off and just retreat into your own world.
Yeah, there are definitely times of that. However, I don't. If somebody reached out to me and I'm having a bad day and somebody reaches out to me and says, I need help, I'm there 100%, because that is bigger than my own bad day, you know? And it might be a detriment to me. I don't know. I'm not trying to make myself sound like a hero. It might actually be a detriment to me, but, I've had those days. I've had those dark days where I wish somebody was there to hold my hand. And if somebody's reaching out to me, who's essentially a complete stranger, it must be bad. So I need to make sure, I had a woman call me once, Brad, that told me she was suicidal.
Oh my gosh.
She needed to talk to somebody. And what am I going to say? I'm having a bad day. I can't deal with your problems.
True.
No, I'm going to get on the phone with that woman and I'm going to let her know she's not alone and somebody gives a crap about her, and that there is another side of this, that you're in the thick of it right now, but it's not always going to be that way.
But that's amazingly selfless of you, though. You are a hero, I think, to be there for women who are going through this. I mean, could you say that when you're having one of those days, a dark day, as you called it, and you do get reached out to by a woman or multiple, would you say that kind of helps bring you out of that dark day and knowing that you're able to help someone else?
There are times where it affects me greatly, very deeply, where I cry and I say, cancer is just everywhere. Is it ever going to end? Like, are we ever going to escape it? There's no escaping it. And it's very depressing and very dark. And then there's days where the phone call from somebody or the email from somebody is just a reminder of how far I've come.
Right.
And sometimes I need that too. So it really depends how it lands on me that day and what's going on in my life. And, the good news is this: I have dark days, but I know how to pull myself out of them. Not everybody does. And, I feel that I'm experiencing these things, whether it be cancer or the aftermath of cancer or, other life events that are going on that I don't even talk about, that these things are not happening to me. They're happening for me.
Right.
And if I don't look at it that way, then it just becomes unbelievably depressing and dark. But if I look at it that way and I say, well, these things aren't happening to me, they're happening for me. There's a better good for this. There's something that's on the other side of this that I just don't know yet. Then I realize that I have a duty to help pull other people into their other side as well.
That's incredibly selfless. You're an inspiration, Jen.
Thank you.
Now, did you have anyone that you could reach out to when you were going through it?
I did. I was diagnosed in July 2017. So January 2017, I was contacted by another photographer who I knew of. I didn't know her well, but I knew of her, and we'd crossed paths a few times. And she called me and she said, I was just diagnosed with breast cancer. I'm 30 years old. She had had cancer previously in her life, and she had radiation on her chest. And they told her that by the time you're 30, you'll probably get breast cancer from the radiation. And sure enough, at her 30th birthday, she was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh my gosh.
And called me and said, I want to do a shoot before I have surgery. Are you free? I'm having surgery like Thursday. And I was like, no, I'm not free, but of course I'm going to find an hour for you. I will make room for you. So I made room for her. And I just remember that it was just a really beautiful day. And I said to her, we will talk as much or as little about your cancer as you want. You control the day, and she did. She talked about it and we cried together. And I have to tell you, that session, for some reason, I understand it now, but for some reason in the moment I didn't understand, it really affected me. Like I just went home and I remember thinking for days and weeks, what must it be like to cut your breasts off? Like, how does somebody face that? And how does somebody even have that strength? And how do you do that? And how do you put yourself on the operating table? Like, it disturbed me, it was like on a deeper level than, oh, I had a tough client today who's going through something tough and I'm carrying some of those emotions. It was almost as if I was living it through her,
Wow.
And I kept trying to like shake it. And, she wanted to pay me. And I said to her, I don't want you to pay me, but what I want you to do is I want you to pay it forward one day to somebody in one way, shape, or form. And when I was diagnosed with cancer, she was the first call I made. And I just said to her, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to tell people. I don't know who to call, how to make a doctor's appointment, how to organize myself or anything. And she told me everything I needed to do. And a week before my surgery, she showed up at my house with all the things I was going to need for recovery. And that was her paying it forward. And I had no idea at the time when I said to her, pay it forward, that she was going to be to me.
That's incredible. What a story. Wow.
Yeah. And, she has definitely been a beacon for me. She's still struggling as well. I mean, we're both still in it, but we definitely support each other through it. So she was invaluable to me.
That's amazing. So keeping with that theme then, as photographers, what kind of advice could you give to other photographers who are going to be photographing clients who have breast cancer or who are dealing with breast cancer?
I would really say, people, I get this question a lot from photographers specifically that are like, I'm shooting somebody Thursday. How do I handle them? And, my answer is really handle them just like everybody else. They deserve the experience just like everybody else. Some people go into the experience wanting to forget about their problems and just have a great day and feel feminine and beautiful, and they don't want to talk about cancer at all. And some people want to cry and acknowledge it, and you have to really let them set the tone.
Okay.
And just not to be afraid. It's like, just not to be afraid. Like, we're not, how do I explain this? Like, we're not that fragile. It's a very fragile time, but if I'm booking you because I want to come in because I know I'm having a mastectomy, let's say, and I want to show off I want to remember my chest, that's a very strong thing to do, Yeah. It's a very difficult, I didn't do it, by the way. I shoot clients all the time that do it, but I didn't do it. I didn't want to do it before. I wanted to do it after. For me, it was more like, all right, I want to do it to embrace my new body and to, whatever it might be. So everybody's a little bit different, but I think, and not to be afraid of scars, like in that way also. A lot of people I see will post and say, well, how do I hide her scars? I'm like, maybe she doesn't want her scars hidden. Like, I love my scars, Brad. Like, I think scars are so badass. I hope I can say that.
Yeah. Okay, well, scars are a part of you. It's a part of your character. It's like a war. It's a war story. It's what you went through.
Yeah. Like I feel so grateful that anytime I'm going through something hard, all I have to do is look down and remind myself, like, you've been through harder, girl. Like, you got this,
Yeah.
So I want to show off my scars, and I do a lot of self-portrait work to do that, and to make it that scars are not so taboo. So I think let the person that you're photographing determine what they want the session to be like, and just don't be afraid. You don't have to handle somebody so delicately. I don't think like you're afraid to even talk about it. I'm afraid to even mention the scar. No, talk about it. Acknowledge it, embrace it. I love your scar. I mean, I tell clients, I love your scars, man. They're cool. They're beautiful. Yeah. Let's show it.
Well, you have to be tactful because, I mean, for some people it is a very delicate subject, but you're right. Don't treat them like a delicate flower or a piece of, like, they're going to break if you talk about it.
Correct. And I do realize that it's easier for me because I have scars. So, and everybody knows that. So I can say to somebody, let's show them off because I've done it, and, or I can talk about it a little bit more openly because I've gone through it. I realize that I have that advantage. But the truth of the matter is that, people come over to me all the time and be like, what do your boobs look like? What do they feel like? What is it like? And I'm like, here, touch, feel, look. Like, I have no shame. Like, you should want to know. Education is really important. And, for me, they don't feel like part of my body necessarily, so it doesn't really bother me,
Right.
But yeah, I mean, we have a joke that, like, how do you know you're in the room with another breast cancer survivor? Like, you'll know because you'll see their boobs in 4 minutes. We're always like, here, look at mine. Let me see yours. And it's a thing. We're not that shy about it, in general.
So now you had mentioned when you were going through, you had the other photographer to reach out to. You had photographed her, and you had said that we can talk about in the session. We can talk about it as much or as little. Would you say that that's something that a photographer should get out there and let them know that they're there to listen, or just let things unfold naturally? Or
I say set a comfortable space for them, allow them to come in, do hair and makeup. I love doing hair and makeup for them beforehand because I think it's a really good time to see whether they bring it up or not. I don't always sometimes I tell my staff, but I don't always tell my staff. I want to kind of leave it up to the client for them to know or not. It's not my story to tell.
Right.
I will tell them if like they're going to be in the room and the client is reconstructed and, they're going to see it. Like, of course, I'll let them know ahead of time. But if it's like somebody coming in, maybe who's having a mastectomy, you wouldn't know by looking at them that they had breast cancer. It's not my story to tell, Right.
Yeah.
So I don't really mention it. And then I let them just, get comfortable and set the pace. And then, the last woman actually that I photographed who was a few days before, she had a lumpectomy. It was a few days before her lumpectomy. I said to her, I want you to know we can talk about it or not talk about it. I'm just letting you know. That's
put it out there.
Just putting it out there. We can talk about it or not talk about it. It's really up to you. And she was like, no, I want to talk about it. Like, let's talk about it. She's like, I have 1,000 questions for you. I'm like, great. I'll answer every single one for you. Tell me what you want to know.
Well, it's a form of therapy too. And I mean, boudoir photography, let's be honest, it is a form of therapy because you're helping clients get over or deal with certain issues through photography, right? So, I mean, helping them out with that and letting them know that it's okay to talk about it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't consider myself a photographer. I consider myself a phototherapist.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's what my business card's going to say, phototherapist. Because what I do, I'm not a therapist, but what I do has therapeutic aspects, and it's not really always about me changing their lives. It's about them having this experience with me and changing their perspective. That happens a lot.
Right. So, I mean, you are a photographer but you're not a credentialed therapist, but some people might look at that and say, well, how can you be a therapist for someone? How can you give someone advice when you've not had the training for it?
Yeah, I don't give advice at all. In fact, what I do is I provide a space for them to explore their feelings. I give them a space to step out of their comfort zone and push themselves in a different way than they did before. I just provide space. I don't give advice. I don't tell them what to do. I just give them space. And then what happens is sorry?
And listen.
Yeah. And then, share.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you know what? That sucks. I go through the same thing too. And, that's really hard. And I understand that. Like, you're not alone in that. And support, and I leave feeling better too, because I'm like, wow, I'm not alone. My client also deals with this. And so it's a two-way therapy. It's not me giving them therapy. It's a two-way therapy. And I think that that's really vital for what I do. And is it a hit on every single client? No, there's some women that just come in and just want pretty pictures, and that's fine, But the women that come in that it is a hit on, that we really bond in that way, we both leave better than when we came in.
There you go. Now, you had stated that you waited until after your surgery to have your photo session. How was that experience for you?
It was awesome. It's interesting. I took pictures once a week, every week after my mastectomy. As I had my expanders put in, they put in expanders to make room for implants. So I had the first shot I did was right after my mastectomy. And I mean, I am mangled in that photo. Like, it is terrifying looking. And I put it out on Instagram, and it got such an amazing response. I look back at those. It's so important for me to look back, to remember where I came from. Really, it is. And, I actually just found out that I have the wrong implants in, so I need another surgery. I need another reconstruction surgery. And, there's part of me that's like, I can't believe I'm going back to where I came from. I'm going back to doing this again. Like, are you kidding me? But then I have to realize that this isn't going back to where I began. This is part of the process. And this is the reality of breast cancer, is that it is a linear thing. This is not like a beginning and end, right? It's ups and downs, and it's like, this is going to be for the rest of my life. I'm going to deal with this in one way, shape, or form. And it's important for me to look back and say, okay, but you're still not going to be where you were when you first had your mastectomy. Look at what that was like. Remember, because you ever walk into some place and you smell something and it brings you right back to grandma's house. Yep. Or it's the same thing. When I look at a photo of what I looked like right after, I remember the feelings. I remember what I was wearing. I remember, it brings all that back to me. And as much as when you go through trauma, you want to move on from those feelings, I believe it's really important to stay in touch with those feelings at times when you need to call on them to get through difficult times in your life.
Interesting. So what would you say then is your unique skill set or superpower, should we call it, that helped you get through all that? If there was one or two things, if anything.
I said denial, but I'm kidding. Denial works great. You don't have to deal with anything. I'm teasing. I think that honestly, my superpower is that I photographed hundreds of women, if not thousands of women before this, that have all done hard things. And in those moments, I could call on every single one of their strengths for me to get through what I needed to get through. And again, to reframe, it's what I call flipping the script. I have a whole chapter on it in my book about flipping the script and changing it. I could have laid on that couch and said, woe is me. This is horrible. This is terrible. And although I've had those moments, I'm not going to lie.
Of course, you're human. You would.
Yeah. Most of the time it's, wow, I was chosen for this. What am I going to do with it? This is important. What's the mission in this? What's the purpose of this? I'm going to find that, and I'm going to be stronger at the end of this, and I'm going to be better at the end of this. And I can't wait to see what my life holds after all of this. And I'm still very much in that journey right now. I mean, it takes time to put your life back together after cancer.
Well, there are a lot of people who would just lay on the couch. So what advice do you have for people that would just lay on the couch and woe is me? And I mean, that's got to take a lot to reach deep down inside and pull that courage and strength out to get off your ass and fight back and be the best you can be.
Yeah, I don't know if you can talk anybody out of being that way in general. You, as my therapist likes to say, and I don't hide the fact that I see a therapist because I think everybody that's gone through any sort of trauma in life should. Because sometimes when you get the things out of your head, you're like, oh, that makes no sense, or like, oh, that's silly. So maybe that's a good piece of advice, is to make sure you have somebody to talk to. And some, you know what, that is a good piece of advice. I'll tell you why. Have somebody to talk to outside the people that are supporting you through cancer, because the people that are supporting you are going through their own things. They're going through their own emotions, their own trauma, their own curiosities about cancer, and helping you and feeling very helpless. And, these past few months, I've been supporting somebody that I love through cancer, and it's been an incredibly difficult journey, even more so, I think, than having it myself.
Wow.
So I think part of that is because it's so close to when I went through it, that there's a lot of PTSD and a lot of and I'm still in it in a lot of ways, like I said. So me being in it and supporting somebody I love through it is a very difficult journey. And thank God for therapy, because, you can't necessarily go to the person that's ill and say, I'm really having a bad day. No, believe me, they're having a worse one. So, having somebody that you can talk to is really important. And also being able to recognize when something is real and when it's not. And let me explain that for a second.
Okay.
We have a minute. I'm going to confess something that's very sort of deep and a little dark, but I think it's really important for people to understand.
Okay.
I grew up in a very happy home. I'm a very happy person, and generally speaking, things are good, right? I never ever had suicidal thoughts. I never thought about death. None of that.
Right.
The first time, I'm on a medication right now called tamoxifen, and it blocks estrogen from my cells because my cancer is estrogen fed.
Okay.
And it's very well known that tamoxifen has very major side effects for some people, not for everybody. So I started taking tamoxifen, and about a week in, I found myself laying in bed, crying hysterically and thinking, I'm just going to end it now, because if I end it now, nobody else will have to suffer. I won't have to suffer. My family won't have to suffer. This will all be over and cancer will be done. And wow. I was like, I'm done. Like, this is it. This is my last day on earth. Wow. And I certainly didn't get up and, take action toward it.
Yes.
but I had that moment of right after I thought that, and I just laid in bed and cried for hours. And I thought that, and then I said to myself, there was a little part of my brain that went like, knock, knock. And I answered, and the little part of my brain said, what's the matter with you? Get off your ass. This is medication talking. This is not real. This is not real. This is not what you want. This is medication, and it's messing with your brain. Take yourself off the medication for right now.
Yeah.
Call your doctor and stop feeling sorry for yourself. And that's exactly what I did. You know, I called my doctor and I said, sorry, doc, I got to get off this medication right now. I'm thinking dark thoughts. And, you know, she agreed. So she took me off the medication temporarily. And you know what? I realized in that moment, like, okay, there's a difference between what's real and what's not. That was not a real depression. You know, that was not a real suicidal thought. That was just a momentary thing. So I think when people are going through those moments, they have to ask themselves, is this real right now? Like, what's happening in my life right now? And is this fleeting? Like, can I sit and enjoy my pity party for the moment and then get over it in a few hours and move on? Or is this like, I'm stuck in this place and I can't get out? And I think knowing the reality of that will help you understand how to deal with that.
That's incredible strength and resolve. And that takes a lot. And not a lot of people can reach down and, again, reach down inside themselves deep and grab that and pull that out and just shake it off. Not like it's nothing, but shake that off and get out of that mindset. That's incredible.
Yeah, thank you. It certainly wasn't nothing. It scared me. It scared me a lot, you know, because like I said, I had never really been in that place before. But it also taught me a lot. And I think that that's the point of these difficult moments, is to learn from them.
That's incredible. Wow. Okay. If you could have one superpower, what would that be?
Oh, it would be to cure cancer, my friend. Get rid of this horrible, terrible, awful disease and all of the ramifications that it causes. Because, you know, cancer is I think if you've never had experience with cancer, which I didn't before I had cancer, you don't realize how it affects every single part of your life. It affects your bank account, your relationships, your work, your perspective, your health, your energy. I mean, there's nothing it doesn't touch. It's like the sickest thing ever. It's like, I keep saying, I don't understand, like, these 5 little cells in my body or whatever it was, you know, like, how can it mess up so much in my life? But it does. And I just want to get rid of that. I just don't want the world to experience that another day. That would be my superpower.
So many people are touched by it. I honestly, I can't even think of anybody that I know in my life that hasn't been touched by it in some way, shape, or form, whether it's they know someone or they've themselves have gone through it, or family member. It's incredible. It's just, I don't know. I wish there was some cure for it. Because
yeah, it's mind-boggling when you go to a hospital, right? Like, I'll go to get chemo or treatment, or I'll have a doctor's appointment, and I'm sitting there for like 2 hours waiting, right? And you're like, this is just one floor of one hospital in the world right now, and look at how many people are here. You know, like, I can't get a parking spot in the parking garage because there's so many people here. It's mind-blowing, you know? And listen, I like to think positive, and I like to think in a lot of ways we do have cures for cancer. There are a lot of cures for different types of cancer. And truthfully, the death rate of breast cancer has gone down dramatically over the years. But I've really learned that it's not just about living or dying. It's about living with a disease and the ramifications of it, and the treatment. The treatment is brutal, man. Like, the treatment is worse than the disease, you know?
Yeah, I've heard that. I mean,
so yeah. I'm sorry, I'm getting like super depressing and dark, but I think
no, it's part of your journey. It's your story. Let's talk about it. Let's share it.
Yeah,
if it can help somebody.
Yeah. Not, and right? You know, I would say also for anybody out there listening, I know a lot of people are afraid of cancer and afraid of getting mammograms or sonograms because they're afraid they're going to be told that they have cancer. And I just want to kind of say, anytime I have a public forum, I like to remind, especially women, it's not scary finding cancer. It's very scary not finding cancer. Mm-hmm. And that's really the difference these days. So when I say that, you know, I really want a cure for cancer, one of the best ways that we can get ahead of it is early detection.
Excellent. What does the word empowerment mean to you as Jen Rozenbaum?
God, it's so funny. I have such a love-hate relationship with that word.
Do you?
Yeah, you know why? Because it's so overused. It's like, it's become so like, I want to empower women. Well, yeah, you can empower women by like putting a gun in their hand, or you can empower women by making them feel beautiful. Like
Mhm.
there's different ways you can empower women. And I just think people use it as such a generic term sometimes.
Mhm.
And it's a little overused. Do I believe in it 100%? But, what does empowerment mean to me? I really believe that, I have a tagline in my business that I believe women should celebrate their unique femininity shamelessly.
Mhm.
And that's really what empowerment means to me. And what does that mean going a step further? It means women realizing the power that they have, the true selves that they are, and living it without really giving a crap about what anybody else thinks.
Awesome.
And that is really hard for women to do, myself included, by the way, because the world doesn't like that.
Right.
The world is scared of women that live that way. So it's difficult, but I think if we all start living that way, or at least some part of that way, baby steps, then we're going to be living in a different world.
The mindset has to change. It has
Mm-hmm.
to.
Yeah. I just recorded a podcast yesterday with somebody about like body image or body trends. Sorry.
Mhm.
There's this new trend now. I don't know if you've heard, but there's this new trend that's like hip cleavage is in, and it's trendy. And
Hip
Sports Illustrated,
cleavage?
hip cleavage, yeah,
Okay.
it's Google it for anyone that's listening. You'll understand about it. It's too hard to explain without a visual thing, but yeah, hip cleavage. And so what's happening is like Sports Illustrated just came out with a photo of this woman who's quote unquote plus size, and she has hip cleavage. And this is the season's newest trend, they said. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, and so women all over are going, I mean, I'm giving away the podcast, but if you want to listen to it, you can find it. Women all over the world are going, yes, finally, at least there's a curvy girl on the cover or wherever in the magazine. And, yes, finally hips are in. And I'm going, you guys are idiots. Like, no, this is not good for
No.
people.
No.
Is it good that we are, for the moment, considering somebody plus size, which I'll use the term loosely, like I said,
Mhm.
because I don't think she was so plus size, but, somebody plus size is beautiful enough to be in Sports Illustrated. Yeah, that's great. But here's what Sports Illustrated is doing. They're telling you that your body is trendy or not trendy. That
Mhm.
is not cool. That is not okay. How about, here's the thing. Trendy should be, everybody's body is in style right now, because you
Yes.
can't change you can't change the shape of your body. It's like, yes, can I lose weight? Can I gain weight? Can I get breast implants? Can I have surgery? Whatever. Yes. Can I make my legs longer? No. Can I
No.
make my bone structure smaller? No. Like, can I make myself more hourglass figure? Not without a hell of a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So why are we all of a sudden saying, oh, hips are in and butts are in and thighs are in? Like I grew up in the Kate Moss era, right? So
Mhm.
like being really skinny was in. So women tried really hard to be skinny. And now it's like having butt and thighs is in. And so like 10 years ago when people came in for a shoot, they would say, can you make me look thinner? And now they come in and say, can you make me look curvier?
Wow.
I just don't understand how we've made body type trendy. I think it's so harmful for women. And so what you're doing is, yes, you're making the women that fit that trend feel really good about themselves, but you're making everybody else feel really crappy about themselves. And that is a manipulation of women. And that is why we need to look at things a different way. We need to understand that what society and what media is doing is they're manipulating women, and they're holding them back in their power, because they're saying, well, you don't have hip cleavage, so therefore you're not worthy of being seen and you're not worthy of being heard, so you should just shut up and sit down and look pretty.
That's ridiculous. How about just overall body acceptance? Just
Correct.
embrace it, love it, love who
Correct.
you are, love your body. But that's a long journey. Because there are so many, and men as well.
Yeah.
But
Listen, along with the women's movement, there's a men's movement. Like, let me address that for 1 second,
okay,
because
sure,
I think
absolutely.
women are so like, go women, go women. Men are holding us back. Yes, I agree with that in a lot of ways. I'm
Yeah,
sorry to
yeah.
say. Because they don't know better. It's just the way society has been for so long. But here's the thing, as there's a women's movement and as women are demanding respect and equality and everything else that comes along with the women's movement, there is also a men's movement that has to happen. And I think is happening, where men can and are allowed to be more sensitive, more understanding, more accepting, and less controlling. And I think in a lot of ways, and this might be an unpopular opinion of like giving, for a feminist in a way to give men a buy, but to say, men don't even realize they're doing it. This is just kind of how they're raised. These particular men, I'm not trying to group everybody together,
Right.
but in particular, these men in particular are just raised this way. This is what they know, and they are feeling threatened by women. So along with the women's movement, like a lot of women say, oh, the day of like the white man is over, that they've lived their day. No, I think we need to concentrate on that, because that's the group of men that really need to understand how they can change to adapt to this world that we're living in also, and give women the freedom to live shamelessly feminine.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So I know you don't really talk about your children too much, but I'm just curious, you have a boy and a girl.
I do. I have a 9-year-old boy and a 13-year-old girl.
So speaking on the topic of body positivity and body acceptance, how do you promote that environment, or what kind of environment in your home do you create in order to promote body positivity and body acceptance? Because it's going to be a little bit different for boys versus girls, and you've got to start with the kids young.
Yeah.
To get them to that point.
Yeah, I think we live in a very body positive home. Mm-hmm. I think that I have to say, I've had this conversation the other day with a girlfriend, that I think that girls these days are, in one hand, under a lot more pressure because of social media and whatnot. But in another way, are also much more accepting of their bodies than what I remember me and my friends being like at my daughter's age.
Really?
Yeah, that, like I'll say to my daughter, you're beautiful, and, I love your body. It's perfect the way it is. And she'll be like, I know. Like at 13, I was already like, I can't eat anything. And do I have a stomach? Because they're growing up in a different age than we are. They're growing up with women that are curvier. They see more of that. We didn't see that.
Right.
They're exposed to more different types of bodies than we were growing up. I don't know how old you are, but when I was growing up, I was not exposed to that as much as my daughter is. So I don't hear a lot of, I don't bring it up. Like my feeling is sort of like, I'm not going to make her aware of something that she's not aware of, I'm like, but I don't hear a lot of like, I never hear her, I need to lose weight, or I need to, I don't hear that a lot from my daughter and her friends. It's very, my daughter has a friend who's very thin. Right. And it's funny because sometimes she'll even say to me, like, I don't even know if I like that. Like, that's not, like maybe that's, and I try to explain to her, listen, we don't judge other people. Everybody's bodies are different, but isn't it interesting that like she's 13 and you're 13 and you have very different bodies? And she's like, yeah, it's so crazy, but she's not all like, oh my God, I need to be thin like my friend. I just think that's amazing.
That's incredible that the awareness is there at such a young age.
Yeah. And with boys, it's the same, by the way. My son is small for his age.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like, you're the smallest kid on the team and you're this and you're so small, or expectations. Well, you should be fast because you're small, like there's a lot of pressure on him too.
For sure.
And my answer to him is, you're perfect just the way you are. You're meant to be the way you are, and you'll work whatever you got.
Awesome. That's so good, especially for parents that are dealing with these kinds of things with their children. Because it does, I have 2 daughters, and they went through bullying and things like that during elementary school and so forth. So it's definitely out there, and a lot of kids have to deal with it. So I think that's amazing that your children are so aware at such a young age, and that they have you as a role model to teach them this and help them through these things.
Yeah, I hope it stays that way. And, also, like when I came out with my book, my boudoir book, my son he's 9 now, so he's probably 6.
Right.
And I remember him saying to me, can I have a signed copy of your book? And I have this moment of like, how do I handle this,
Yeah.
But I realized that part of my job as a mother of a son is to teach him that the woman's body is not terrifying, that it's something that should be respected, and it's something that is very beautiful, and that can be looked at in another way besides just sexual use, to be honest.
Yeah.
And, I don't want him growing up scared of a woman's body, because I do think that that's part of the issue in the world these days, and why there's so much control over body type and whatnot.
Wow, that's incredible. How do you define success? What does success mean to you?
Success means to me, it's changed so much over the years. Right now, I mean, if you ask me on any given day what that might mean, it can change.
Yeah.
But right now, I would say success means that I get to reach as many women as I can, and that I don't have to work myself to the bone to do so. And that's something new for me, because I have worked myself to the bone for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say in the last few months of taking care of my family member who is ill, I've backed off work a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And there's part of me that panics, like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my business, and I'm going to lose my following, and I'm going to, and then there's another part of me that's saying to me very loudly, you need more of this in your life. You need more downtime in your life, because you need it to stay healthy.
I think we all need some of that, right? Because as photographers, we get so enthralled with pushing the business, and we got to get more clients. We got to work. But there's got to be some kind of balance too, because you need time. Life is short, and you need to spend time with family, with friends, and be there for people. And it's tough. It's tough
and
to
to
balance.
take care of yourself. And to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
I'm not so good at that, and I don't know how many times cancer has to hit my family before I realize that I need to take care of myself.
So would you say that was a pivotal point for you in taking time for you, then having to deal with cancer, breast cancer, and making that realization that, you know what, I got to take time for Jen. I really got to start doing that. Or did you start any of that before you discovered you had breast cancer?
Oh, that was definitely not before. And it definitely wasn't even during. Like, I worked a lot when I was going through treatment for breast cancer, and everybody kept saying to me, wow, you're amazing. You're so strong. You're working. And like, I look back and I say, you're all like, didn't help the situation. Like, I know you're trying to make me feel better by thinking I'm such a hero and I'm so strong. Somebody should have said to me, put work down.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? I mean, listen, at the time I needed it because it made me feel normal, and it connected me to women, and I don't think I would change it per se. It was more after the treatment where I like kind of came out guns blazing, like, all right, I'm ready to get my life back together. And I just burnt out real fast, like I was like, wow, I don't have the adrenaline or the energy or the stamina that I used to have.
Right. And
the way I used to do things isn't working for me anymore. And that part of it, I'm still trying to figure out.
Would you say that you threw yourself into your work then as a distraction?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Now, speaking of work and photography, and is there any other profession that you would like to attempt in your life? Is there anything else that interests you that you'd like to do because as you said in the beginning of the podcast, you can't do anything as a hobby. So is there anything else that interests you that you would like to try your hand at?
Yeah, you're going to get me thinking about this, and then I'll have a new business. That's the problem. Yeah, there's a lot of things I would love to try. I mean, I used to have multiple businesses. I used to be a jewelry designer, actually.
Really?
Yeah, and I actually still do make jewelry sometimes. Some people out there listening right now might be wearing some of my pieces, but I would really like to get more involved in something that's really not a different career, but an add-on to my career. And, I always wanted to be an author. Let's back that up. I always wanted to be a writer. So I'm publishing 2 books. One is called Shamelessly Feminine, and that one will hopefully be out early 2020. I was hoping for this year, but things got a little crazy with my family member being sick.
Right.
So 2020, Shamelessly Feminine will come out, and that's really about helping women unleash their power. It's what I call the book for kick-ass women who need a kick in the ass.
Awesome.
So I'm hoping to do a little bit more public speaking with that, and reaching women in different ways, in the same way that I reach them with my camera, just without my camera.
So like a book tour type thing where you go on tour and speak about it?
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Let's put that out in the universe.
Yeah, let's do that.
That would be great. I'm also writing a book called Reconstruction.
Okay.
And it's a book about putting your life back together after cancer. And that one is currently in the works because it's still in the works. So that one might be 2021 or so. But I would like to do more those books I'm writing because I want to do more in that realm. I want to do more speaking to women about how I found my cancer, how I dealt with my cancer, how to manage life after cancer. I do believe, like I said, that this was given to me. It's not being done to me, it's being done for me. And I have to be able to find something in it in which I can, I don't want to say it's not about making money. It is about making money, because certainly it's how I would like to make my livelihood, helping women. Let's put it that way. And the more that I can do that and make money, the more women that I can help. And I can make donations to breast cancer charities, and I can give back to the world. So if anybody out there is listening and there's an opportunity for a public speaker in the breast cancer or women's empowerment world, think of me. Let's
put it out there to the universe and make it happen.
Yes.
I love it. That's amazing. All about helping people, whether it be through photography, your writing, and these book tours we're putting out into the universe for you.
Yes. Thank you.
What is there anything that you would admit that you're not very good at?
Everything, pretty much. By the way, I will admit that I don't even think I'm that good at photography.
I beg to differ, Jen. I'm sorry. I can't agree with that statement.
Well, here's the thing about it. I think when you start thinking you're really good at something, you get lazy, right? So I'm constantly pushing myself. What am I not good at? I'm really not good at a lot of things. I like to think I'm good at things. I like to think I'm a gourmet chef, but I'm really not. I like to think that I'm really not good at a lot of things. What am I not good at?
That attitude pushes.
I know what I'm really not good at. Do you want to know what I'm really not good at? Time management. I'm really not good at it. And that's mostly because there's 80 things I want to do in a day, and I only have time for 8, but I think I can do the 80. It's because I really believe in myself. I really think you got it. Today you can do the 80. And this is a constant struggle for me. Every morning I wake up and go, okay, today's going to be the day that I do the 80. And it's only 8.
Well, it's still 8 off the list though. So It's good, right? You got to look at the positive side of things.
Yeah. I think when you're an entrepreneur, and especially a creative entrepreneur, you struggle with things like that a lot, because you're kind of I know people say all the time, I have ADD. I don't know if I have ADD, but I'm certainly distracted by things that I'm I like that more than what I'm doing now. So that seems more powerful. Let's forget this and go do that. And, sometimes it makes it difficult to finish projects and things like that.
Right. So speaking of entrepreneurship and so on, if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be? Whether it be about entrepreneurship or about life in general, anything. What piece of advice would you give your younger self?
Yeah, I would tell that girl to stop hating on her body, because it's a waste of time and a waste of energy, and that taking risks, calculated risks in life, is the most important thing. There's so many things that I look back and I think I held myself back for out of fear, and I don't want to be like that anymore. So maybe I'm glad that the younger me did that so I can learn from that. But I kind of wish I was in my younger life, I took more risks.
Do you have any big projects, aside from the books that we just discussed, that you're working on right now that you'd like to share and get out there for the listeners?
Right now, it's really the books. I have to get them done. I've been writing Shamelessly Feminine for about 1.5 years now. So I really need to kind of buckle down and get that done. I just opened a new studio on Long Island. So that's amazing. Really exciting. Yeah. In Port Washington, if anybody listening knows where that is. So I want to turn this space into a space for women. So we'll be doing some events here and whatnot. So I'm going to be working on planning some of those. And other than that, my big project is figuring out self-care.
Amazing. Well, Jen, I just wanted to say thank you so much for giving me the time to chat and share your story with me and with my listeners and all of that. I really appreciate it. It's an amazing story.
Thanks so much for having me.
And we will talk again soon, I hope. I would love to have you back. And maybe once you get your books out and your book tours booked, we can chat and talk about those and share those with everyone.
Sounds good to me.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. And have a great day.
You too.
I would just like to say thanks again to Jen Rozenbaum for joining me on this podcast. I'm your host, Brad Walsh. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the episode.